Pack Ghost is back with another spooky game, and that game is Midnight Mutants for your Atari 7800, featuring a nice illustration of Al Lewis, who played Grandpa on the Munsters, but here he's playing a totally different character, Grandpa. Ooh, let's go ahead and take Midnight Mutants, pop in our Atari 7800 Pro System, and see how it holds up today. Let's go to the game. Hey Al, I think you got some ketchup on your chin there. Midnight Mutants was published by Atari and carries a copyright year of 1990. It is believed to be the final game for the 7800 released in the United States. It was made by Radioactive Software, who also made Eliminator Boat Duel on the NES. According to the manual, on Halloween night, 1747, Dr. Evil, who swore revenge, was burned at the stake by Jonathan Hartman after being accused of being a warlock. Now it's Halloween night, 1992. While Jimmy and his grandpa are looking for a pumpkin, a gigantic display pumpkin explodes as the returning Dr. Evil stands in its place. Dr. Evil reveals that Grandpa is Jonathan Hartman's great-great-grandson, and to take his revenge, he imprisons Grandpa in a giant plasmic pumpkin and disappears. Now it's up to you to save your Grandpa. Midnight Mutants is an action-adventure game for one player only and only has one standard mode of difficulty. Midnight Mutants plays a bit like a mixture of the NES games The Legend of Zelda and Fester's Quest. When the game starts, you use the joystick to move Jimmy. However, while right and left work as you'd imagine, up and down will move you slightly diagonally in an isometric type of movement. Button 1 will use your currently selected item or weapon, while button 2 will bring up the Grandpa Help screen, where you can select an item or weapon to use and listen to Grandpa give hints or just ramble a bit via a psychic link according to the manual. This also makes button 2 a type of a pause button, which is a nice feature for a 7800 game, and actually makes me wish more single button games would have used the second button as some sort of a pause button like this game. The game itself contains several Zelda-esque screens, including a mansion, church, cabin, stables, graveyard, pumpkin patch, and caverns. And in some areas, just like in Zelda, you can find yourself getting lost running in circles. Haven't I seen that tree before? However, some areas are only accessible when you find and use certain items. For instance, one of the first items you should find is the knife in the mansion. Once you have it, you can use it to enter the church, but you can also throw it as a weapon as well. Other weapons you can find include the Axe Blaster and the most powerful Mega Blaster. Some other items you can find include a lantern that will let you enter areas too dark to enter without a light, a key to the crypt, a necklace that will allow you to pick up the heart on the first screen, and a cross that will make you immune to bats when in use. On the bottom of your screen is a status bar that shows you the item in use, your score, a blood meter, and a health meter. Your blood will become less pure when attacked by some enemies, but it can be partially replenished by 50% by using a red potion. Blue potions restore your health. If either your blood meter or health meter reaches 0, your game ends. That's right, you have to beat the game in a single sitting with a single life. If you manage to get the heart on the first screen, your blood will be permanently purified. There's also diamonds hidden throughout the game, some of which only appear when you clear out enough enemies in an area. Some items also appear in this way as well. Getting a diamond will replenish and increase your health meter. There's also a well outside of the cabin that you can touch to replenish your health. In the game, you will come across several enemies, including bats, ravens, pesky wolves, spiders, ghosts, and plenty of zombies with various heads, if they have heads at all. Does that zombie have a light bulb for a head? Cool. There are also 3 bosses you can come across in the game, including Dr. Evil himself. These baddies take up a large portion of the screen and have a weak spot or 2 to hit in order to drain their health meter at the top of the screen. Beat a boss and your health and blood purity gets restored. Beat Dr. Evil and you will get a glowing pumpkin that, when used in the right area of the pumpkin patch, will free your grandpa. Graphically speaking, this game is one of the better looking ones on the system and shows that the 7800 could easily compete with the NES graphic-wise when programmed right. The large bosses are easily the most impressive graphical part of the game, including Dr. Evil, who looks like Count Chocula's tougher big brother. The sounds and music in the game are also very impressive, especially when you consider that all the programmers were using in the game was the Atari 2600 sound chip. Family friendly wise, this game is definitely one of the darker games on the system, including some of the monsters and imagery. Also, the story your grandpa tells during the game has some gruesome parts to it. However, when you defeat an enemy, they usually explode in a colorful fashion. There really isn't much blood in the game outside of your meter. But all in all, this game isn't for everyone. It might scare younger children. If I were to give it a movie style rating, I'd probably go with PG-13 overall. At the time of my research on eBay, the game was somewhat hard to come by. There was one loose copy that sold for $43, some complete copies that sold for $41 to $49, and new copies that sold from $48 to $61, including shipping. So what did I think of Midnight Mutants? Technically, this is a very impressive game with some of the best graphics, music, and sound on the system. I also like all the tidbits they wrote on top of the screen and some of Grandpa's dialogue. And it controls fairly well too, but it can be a hard game to get into. I thought the manual did a good job of giving some hits, including a cool looking map that looks like it was drawn by a doodling middle schooler, but odds are you're going to need some sort of an online guide to get through this one. The game itself can take about 40 minutes to beat if you know what you're doing, but the single life system with the lack of a save or password feature sometimes discouraged me since I don't have a lot of large chunks of free time. For instance, one time I reached Dr. Evil but died battling him. If I could have restarted the battle or even started at a checkpoint nearby, I would have gladly given it another go, but since it would have took me another 30 minutes just to try to get to him again, I decided to save another attempt for another day. But the game was entertaining enough for me to want to try again a couple days later. So in the end, it's a well-made game, but some sort of a checkpoint or password feature may have helped elevate it. And it's also one of those games you may not revisit a lot if you do manage to beat it. So where am I going to rank Midnight Mutants? Well, it's good enough to go into my top 10 for games on the system. I would rather play both Xevious and Dig Dug at 7 and 8 over this game, but I will give it an edge over Xenophobe at 9. So out of the 48 games I've now ranked on the system, Midnight Mutants is sneaking into the 9th position. The rarity, lack of saves, and dark material may keep this game out of some players' hands, but Midnight Mutants is technically one of the better made games on the 7800. So what do you think of Midnight Mutants? Whether you agree or disagree with me, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Also, feel free to click the like and subscribe buttons. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so at Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/NoSoreGamer for more information. You can also follow me on both the Facebook or the Twitter. And I'm a member of the Retro Junkies Network. You can find more retro podcasts and videos at theretrojunkies.com. Thank you for giving me a little part of your day, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the next episode of the No Swear Gamer. Take care, and remember, it's Grandpa, not Grandpa.